Welcome back, everybody. In this video, we're bounty hunters. What? We're not? Wrong video? Oh. In this video, we're hacking bounty hunters from hackthebox. And of course, this is for educational purposes only. And if you're new here, I'm Chris Alupulu, a cyber enthusiast diving into pen testing, CDF challenges, and all things hacking. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Now that we got the IP address, let's go ahead and throw the IP address into the Etsy host so that we don't have to remember the IP address. We could just remember the name, the bounty hunter at hackthebox. So let's do a sudo nano Etsy host, and then we'll put in our Kali Linux password. And as you can see here, I've already entered in the IP address for the bounty hunter, and I gave it the name, the bountyhunter.htb. So we're going to go ahead and Control O to save it, Control X to get out of nano. And then from here, we'll clear it and then run a typical Nmap scan. So here is the Nmap scan that I like usually doing. And I'll be using these flags and saving the output into the Nmap TCP for the bounty hunter at hackthebox. And another alternative way of doing this is you could actually just run it like this as well. So we'll let that run, and that's going to take a few seconds. So may speed this up. And there it goes. So here are the results from the Nmap scan. So Nmap scan for the bounty hunter at the IP address. And here are two ports that are open. 22 TCP open for SSH on Ubuntu Linux. 80 TCP open for HTTP, which is the Apache HTTP. And it shows here, here's the server 2.4.41, and the title is the bounty hunter. So very interesting. It looks like it is a website. So let's go ahead and clear it. From here, let's go ahead and run a Ffuf subdomain enumeration so that we can let that run in the background while we start exploring the website. So here is the command for that. And again, I'll show you on the screen what these commands indicate. But it looks like when we ran it, it's just giving us a bunch of mess. So we need to filter this out based on size. And to do that, I'm going to Control C to stop it. And I'm going to clear it and then go back into the command and throw an FS flag for filter size for that same size that we want to filter. So I'm going to let that run. And from here, now that it's running, it's sending the requests, we can go ahead and launch Burp Suite before we launch Firefox. So let's go ahead and start that up and then launch Firefox. And Burp Suite is up. And here we go. So HTTP and then Bounty Hunter. So here is the main website, the one that was on the 80 TCP. So let's take a look at this website and see what this is all about. The B team. So this website is for bounty hunters, security researchers that can use Burp. So that's awesome. We're using Burp. We are a team of bounty hunters looking for clients. Please contact us if you're interested in hiring us. Awesome. So here is a button field, and I'm looking at the bottom left, and it doesn't look like it's built out. So let's click it and see if it actually does anything. And it didn't do anything. Okay, so that's a dead end. So the other thing is the contact us. And it looks like the contact us goes directly to it. So there's 4 fields here. Maybe that's something. Let's take a look at the bottom. There's some social icons, but they're not built out. And it looks like they're out of Vancouver, British Columbia. Very interesting. Okay. So let's take a look at the page source and see if there's any quick wins or clues. I don't want to rabbit hole too deeply on this, but okay, so here are the 3 links. So it looks like there is a portal.php site built out, but the about us and the contact aren't. Here is the assets image for the avatar. So that's interesting. So let's see if we can go into the folders, and looks like we don't have permission for that. Maybe assets. We don't have permission. Okay, so those are dead ends. Let's continue down. So there's the button, and the button has an href for nothing. So that makes sense. That's why the download our pricing guide didn't work. And here is the contact form section. Okay. And there is a comment here to configure the contact form email address. Go to mail/contact-me PHP, update the email address on line 19. So that's interesting. Let's go ahead and see if we do have access to that. So BountyHunter mail/contact. Okay, so not found. So not seeing anything there. Maybe mail. Nope. Okay. So I think that is a dead end. That must mean that that contact form is probably not built out. And let's see what else. Let's actually go in and test it out. So test at email 1 2 3 4 5 test 4. Okay, and then let's go into Burp Suite. We're going to intercept this request and see if it does work or not. So let's go back, send it, and this is what Burp Suite intercepted. So let me make this bigger. So it's getting a get request to a question mark page. So there is no data. So it looks like this is a dead end. So just going to forward that. And from there, I think that was everything in the page source. I don't want to rabbit hole too much, but I may miss something. I don't know. We may come back to it. But let's go ahead and let's check out the last thing. Here's some JavaScript stuff, but it looks like it's all just boilerplate stuff. I'm not seeing anything really interesting. So looks like that may be a dead end, but let's go into the Ffuf scan and see if it picked up any subdomains. In this case, we are out of luck. So there are no subdomains that Ffuf picked up. So from here, let's clear it, and then we'll do a Feroxbuster. This is going to be a new tool on this channel. Here's the command that I used. And I'm using this flag for PHP because remember in the source code for the portal, there was a portal.php, and it looked like that was the only thing that's built out. So let's run Feroxbuster, and I'll show you on the screen what Feroxbuster is. But essentially, instead of using Ffuf for the subdirectory enumeration, we're going to be using Feroxbuster. So Feroxbuster is going to run, and I'm going to scroll up here, and it's going to essentially use the word list here, the Raft medium directories word list. It's going to run at 50 threads, which is pretty quick. And it's going to do an actual recursive depth. So it's going to go through each folder, just like you see here, BountyHunter resources, and it's going to find BountyHunter log.js, assets, so forth and so on. So it's going to do its thing, and it's going to take a while to run, but it looks like it's already picking up some interesting things. So let's look through here and see. All right. So resources, sure. Bounty.log.js. So that's interesting. So whenever I see something related to the box's name, either BountyHunter or anything related to it, that kind of perks my ears and makes me want to take a look at it. So we can take a look at the bounty.log.js, see if there's anything interesting in there. The other thing I'm noticing is there is a db.php. That's another thing that's built out. A log submit PHP. There's the index page. That's the home page. And then there's the portal PHP. So that's the other thing that we're missing. We need to go back to the website, check that out. But aside from that, I'm not really seeing anything. The portal, the log submit, the DB, I'm assuming database, and then maybe the bountylog.js. Those things kind of are making me want to take a look at. And it looks like Feroxbuster finished. So that was everything. So let's leave that up. I'm actually going to rename this. I'm going to rename it Ferox. I'm going to open up a new window, and then I'm going to CD into that and then clear it. And then let's go into the website. So let's go back to the website. Check out this portal page. So here is the portal page. Burp Suite just did a very quick intercept, and it's showing me a request for a get for the portal. Nothing really special out of it, so I'm going to forward it, and then let's go back in here. Okay, so the portal.php looks pretty empty. Portal under development. Go here to test the bounty tracker, and it looks like that's being redirected to the log submit.php. I'm looking in the bottom left corner of the browser to see what that link is. Before clicking it, let's take a look at the page source, see if there's any hidden clues in the page source. In this case, we're out of luck. There's nothing there. So I guess all the options are clicking the link. Okay. Burp Suite intercepted this one again. Nothing really stands out of it. It's just making a very simple get request to the log submit.php. So I'm going to just go ahead and forward that. And then let's go in and take a look at the website. So bounty report system beta. Okay. And it looks like there's 4 fields and a submit button, and that's about it. So let's take a look at the page source and see here what's going on in the page source. So it's referencing 2 scripts, a jQuery.js and a BountyLog.js. So that was from the Feroxbuster. That was the thing that really stood out to me. But aside from that, it's just a bunch of input fields with a bounty submit button. So I think we need to go into the bounty log, and it looks like we're getting somewhere now. So it looks like this is the nitty gritty details behind the actual page of what's going on with it. Okay, so let's test this out. So test 1, test 2, CVS score 9.9, and a bounty hunter bounty for 10,000. And let's send that and see what happens. In this case, Burp intercepted it, and it's doing a post request to this tracker, some obfuscated tracker PHP file, and it looks like it's sending our data, but our data looks like to be obfuscated. I'm not sure if it's URL encoded or if it's base 64. Very interesting. Okay, so let's go ahead and send that to repeater. I'm going to forward it just so I can see what the output looks like. And let's take a look. So it says if DB were ready, would have added it. Okay. And then here is the inputs that I threw in there. Okay. Let's go back into Burp and go into repeater. So the first thing I'm noticing with this data is the fact that there is a percentage to be. So that makes me think that's URL encoded. I'm going to show you on the screen why I think that there are 2 indicators. Percentage to be is one of those indicators, but it looks like it is being URL encoded. So let's go ahead and select all of it, and then I'm going to right click, and now I'm going to find a way of URL decode. So it's Control Shift U. We can go ahead and URL decode it. And then from here, now it removed all those percentage signs symbols. And from here, we can go ahead and select it again and then do a convert for base 64. So base 64 decode, and it looks like that is exactly what it was. So now we have decoded that long string. First, we URL decoded it, and then we base 64 decoded it. And we get back the data that we were submitting in the first place. And it looks like there is some additional things. It is XML version 1.0 with some encoding. So looks like our main topic for this machine, since it's XML, it's most likely going to be XXE vulnerable. So let's go ahead and figure out how we can test that now. Before we go testing it, the other alternative is if I go back and I base 64 encoded again, and I go back and URL encoded it, and I go and select it. The nice thing about Burp is if I'm selecting it in Burp and I go here on the right side into Inspector, it shows us exactly how it decodes it itself. So here is the selected text. Down below is the decoded from URL encoding. Here is that URL decoding text, and then from here is the decoded from the base 64. So that is super awesome. It shows us exactly what we need to do without even needing to do that through the right click and doing it ourselves. But we can either do it one way or the other. It depends on your preferences. Typically what I like doing is I'll even go and copy this and then, you know, go into the terminal and do a URL decode, or I would just copy the URL decode and go into the terminal. And then you could also just echo, right? And then do a base 64 decode. And then there you go. So there's a number of different ways. Most people probably go through the Burp Suite route and manipulate their data through this way, just because it is convenient and a lot easier. So the other thing I wanted to mention is, remember in our Feroxbuster scan that we did find the bounty log.js up here. And when we went into it, we found the nuts and bolts behind the script that's actually submitting the bounties. So here is the exact same information we found through Burp Suite, that it's submitting it through an XML. And here are the title parameters, the CWE, the CVS, and it's pretty much, it's the logic behind what we found in Burp. So knowing that, there's a number of different ways of discovering this information for this box. So now that we know that, let's go back into our terminal and go into our new pane, and we'll actually open up a new window, go into the BountyHunter, clear it, and start crafting our payload now. So let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, now we have the payload, and I'm going to just insert it here into the data. I'm going to just paste it in, and here is the payload that I'm submitting through the XSE. So this is, I'm going to show you on the screen what all this indicates, but essentially what we're doing is we're doing an entity for XSE, and then we're calling it in the title. And what we're looking for is, we're looking to see if we can access the etc password file and see if that works. If it does, then it's going to output in the response the password file. So let's go ahead and try this. So I'm gonna select everything, and then I'm going to right click, and I'm going to base 64 encoded first. Remember, we needed a base 64 encoded. And then we need to right click again, and we need to convert this and do a URL encode for all characters, and now we have that. So let's go ahead and send that and see if that works. And we did get back a good response. We got a 200 okay, and here is the password file. So this is awesome. So I'm gonna go ahead and just copy this so I have it from my notes. And while we didn't get the password from the password file, what's relevant about the password file is the fact that now we know what users are on this machine. So once we figure out how to get some credentials, we can figure out who to log into with maybe, I don't know, let's see, maybe development. I think development might be the best one. We can figure that out once we get there. So now that we did that and we know that payload worked, let's go back and figure out a way of injecting, instead of doing a file for the Etsy password, we're going to inject a reverse shell. So let's go ahead and craft that now. So I tried a bunch of different ways of trying to inject a reverse shell, but I wasn't getting anywhere with that. I was going down a rabbit hole. So I went back into my Feroxbuster, and I was scanning through, and I do remember there was a 200 get for a database.php file. Now, when we go back into the website and we submit our bounty report system, it's indicating that if the DB were ready, it would have been added. So I thought that's really unusual. Let's go ahead and see if we can figure out if we can go into the DB, the database, what was it, the PHP, and drop this. And so it's not showing us anything here, but there is a reference to the DB and they're trying to set it up. So I'm thinking maybe we need to figure out how, instead of going through the Burp Suite and doing the file Etsy password, let's go ahead and try seeing if we can get access to the DB file. So here is the payload that I did, and I had to do a PHP wrapper and to base encode it and for it to work. So there is the command. So we're gonna go ahead and convert this into base 64 encoded first, and then we're going to right click and convert it again to URL and send it and see if we get anything. And it looks like we did get something back. We did get a HTTP 200 okay, and it came back with an obfuscated base 64 obfuscated. So, and looking here in the inspector on the right side, here is exactly what we need. We got some credentials, and if I even copy this and go into the terminal and into the new pane, I can also just base 64 decode it as well, and there are our credentials. So I can flame shot it, take a screenshot, but it looks like we're getting a DB username admin, and then there is the DB password. So I'm going to copy that, keep that in my notepad, my note clip up here in the top right. And from there, we can go ahead and let's go back into Burp, and we need to figure out, let's go back. Let's send that. Oh, I need to send that as base 64 encode. And then I need to send that as URL encode. Okay. So now that we have the password, we need to figure out what user to log into. So probably not root, because I'm expecting us that we need to do a privilege escalate into root. So let's go down games. What was the one that we found a while back that really stood out? Oh, development. Development stood out. Okay, so development for bin bash. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll do SSH development at the Bounty Hunter, and then we'll throw in the password. And there we go. We got access to the Bounty Hunter through the development with the credential leakage that we were able to get through Burp Suite. So from there, we'll clear it. We can ls. We can cat the user and throw that in for the hack the box. But from here, let's figure out how we can start working our privilege escalate into root. All right, from here, let's go and do the typical sudo l. So sudo l to see if we have any privileges that we can run as root. In this case, what came back is that we do have root access to using no password for this script right here, and we can run it through the Python 3.8. So let's copy this, and then we're going to cat it and take a look at what this script is all about. So this is the SkyTrain Inc. ticket validation system 0.1. Do not distribute this file. So let's read through this and take a look at it. So it's loading and it's verifying that whatever we're running this through, that it's markdown. So .md is a markdown file. And if it isn't a markdown file, then wrong file type. So it's doing some type of verification checks. And then the other thing that it's doing, it's evaluating those checks through a loop, and it's checking to see that if it starts with the SkyTrain Inc., the ticket 2, and the ticket code. The other thing that it's doing, it looks like there's a validation number, and the thing that pops out to me, it's doing some type of eval calculation. So it looks like that's probably our attack vector, trying to figure out if we can get access to maybe a ticket. So let's figure out if we could do that. Let's see here. Please enter the path for the ticket, load the file, so forth and so on, valid ticket, invalid ticket. Okay, so that's the gist of it. Let's see. I'm gonna clear it, and I'm gonna do a sudo l again. And now we're going to, let's go ahead and I'm gonna copy this. And I'm going to see if there's any examples, because typically there should be some type of example. So let's ls this file, and it looks like there is invalid ticket folder. So maybe do invalid tickets and see. Okay, so there are 4 markdown files in here. And if we do an ls LA, okay, they are root. So they're showing here are the permissions that it looks like we don't have any write ability to these files. So most likely what we need to do is we need to, let's cat it and see what those files look like. So we'll go here and cat. Am I missing a space? I think I'm missing a space. All right. And then let's cat the first one and see if it follows exactly the same parameters that we found in the ticket validator.py. So there is the first ticket. So SkyTrain Inc., ticket to New Haven, ticket code, and there is the eval function that's running. So I think this is probably where we should be injecting our reverse shell or some type of logic to figure out how we can escalate into root. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm actually going to copy this And I'm going to go into the temp folder because the temp folder is typically the best place that I found anyways, where you have the less likely restrictions in creating and writing to files. So let's go ahead and nano temp, and then we'll create let's say a file, I don't know, ticket or fake ticket .md, and there is my ticket, and there is the injection for the code that I want. And again, I'll show you on the screen why I'm using this, but we're essentially just throwing in right below the ticket code, and in the logic we're throwing in this call to bin bash and we're making it true. So hopefully this works. We're gonna go in Control O, save it as the fake ticket.md markdown file in the temp folder, and then we're gonna exit out of that. And from here, let's go ahead and start doing that. So let's run this command and see. So sudo, and we'll run it, and it's asking us for please enter the path to the ticket file. So we need to enter in the new file that we found. In this case, here it is right here. We nanoed it in the temp folder. So I'm gonna just copy that, put it in there, and there we go. We became root through this Python ticketing script. So that is awesome. From here we can ls, and we can actually cd's nuts into root, and there we go. So we have root flag. So that was it for this machine. I really enjoyed it, especially the beginning part, trying to find the different attack vectors and having fun with the URL decoding and the base 64 decoding. I thought that was a nice little play. I enjoyed that a lot, especially trying to play around with it in the curl command as well. I had fun doing that, and ultimately did rabbit hole a little bit on trying to figure out how to reverse shell through the XXE vulnerability, but ultimately didn't spend too much time on that. I was trying to find what were the clues being presented to me. In this case, the database.php was shown to me twice, one in the Ferox scan and then the other in the output of submitting the bounty report or the bounty tracker. So those were two mentions. So I figured, since I'm not getting anywhere with this reverse shell, let me figure out how I can figure out what the db.php file had. In this case, it did had some credentials that I was able to access and actually get my foothold through the development user by shared password. So that was fun. And I did really enjoy figuring out the Python 3.8 script with the ticket validator and how to inject it. I enjoyed it all. It was a great box. I do recommend it. And if you guys have any questions, of course, feel free to throw them in the comment section below. Subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.